Hey, everybody, it's Craig back with another Mortgage Minute, and I'm pumped today. I'm here with my good friend, Vicki McAnulty with Benchmark Realty. Vicki, how are you doing?
I am doing great, Craig.
Hey, and listen, before we hit record, Vicki and I were just sitting here chit-chatting, and she was telling me about a few transactions she's had recently, a few listing clients she's worked with that she's had really good success with, and she mentioned that they were as is listings. And I thought, huh, now what do you mean by that? So Vicky, tell me what you were just telling me as far as like what do you mean these listings that you had were as is? What does that mean?
When we offer or when I offer a listing as is, we are letting everybody know that the seller is not going to pay for repairs. And
Okay.
they're really selling the home in the condition that it is in. And that has maybe two different people who use it. One, it's been a really good market and been a seller's market, and sellers have just been able to take that stand. I just want it to be sold. I want to sell as is. And it doesn't mean that there's necessarily anything wrong with the house. If I list a home that's in great condition, but we're selling it as is because the market is so competitive, I usually put that in the wording. This home is in great condition, but we're selling it as is. Inspections are welcome.
Okay. Yeah. So, but you're not telling the potential buyer that, hey, look, you can't do your own inspection. Just make sure there's not major issues. You're just giving them a heads up on the front end of, hey, listen, if there's minor repairs or something like that, there's a good chance the seller just really doesn't want to do that. So it's not indicating that, it's a challenging property, but you've obviously had a lot of success with those listings. So what are some things you're doing to make sure that your sellers are maximizing, what they're doing when it is an as-is listing?
It probably depends on the actual condition of the home.
Hmm.
When when it's a squeaky clean home that's been well maintained, I will ask them, of course, if there's anything that needs to be repaired that they're concerned about. And then there are, anything that we can fix before a home is listed, I think is better for everybody concerned.
Sure.
But then there is the home that it's an elderly woman who's going to go live with family or go into assisted or independent living. And she just doesn't have the energy or maybe the resources to put into the home to put it in what I would call tip top shape. And that becomes a really good reason that is helping my seller um, make a transition as easily as possible. And so that is a reason to go ahead and do it. And I've done several of those recently where we're just talking about older people needing to transition pretty quickly because of their health issues. And it's just easier for them. And when I'm a listing agent, the particular needs of every client just needs to be taken into consideration, and me
Yeah.
make the transition as easy as possible for them.
Yeah. And I would think there's probably a lot of people watching this right now that may want to sell their house, may have a need coming up to sell their house, and might be a little concerned about, well, I don't know that my house is in tip-top shape. Maybe I would have trouble selling my house. And it sounds like what you're saying is, what, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you had mentioned to me that, you have, really good contacts with investors that probably are looking for that house, right? So if there's somebody watching this right now, like, is that something that you can help a potential seller with as far as really marketing that to a really good audience?
Yes, and what if that is what the seller wants? What I typically do is put a period in the listing contract that gives us 2 or 3 weeks where it's just going to be offered to investors.
Oh,
And then,
gotcha.
okay, and then a date for it to go active in the MLS. And I think every time I've done that, it has sold prior to that go active date with an investor. And it's not like it used to be when you sold a property to an investor 15, 20 years ago. It was usually a distressed property. You
Right.
usually maybe took less money for it. But I am seeing that there are investors out there that really pay a very fair price for the right house. And every property won't be what an investor is looking for. There are some that are really looking for rentals. There are some that are looking to flip a home. And depending on which house, you have will depend on who is going to be interested in it.
Sure. But you've spent the time and invested the time to cultivate the relationships with these
Yes.
investors. So, I mean, my gosh, it sounds to me like that's a really low hassle way to sell a house. And that's not for everybody, right? I mean, you're going to have plenty of people that you work with, plenty of sellers that say, hey, look, I don't mind going active. I don't mind, showings and things like that. But there's also going to be those sellers that say, I'd prefer not to have a bunch of people in my house for whatever reason.
Right.
It could be a health issue that is just a concern with a lot of people in and out of the house. And so it sounds like you have a really good system in place to help both buyers. So if it's or seller, excuse me. So if it's a
Yeah.
seller that you see, I get so used to saying buyer because that's what I work with. But
That's what you do.
a seller that doesn't mind going active, you got them covered. But if it's a seller, it's like, man, I'd like to sell my house, but I don't know that I'll like the idea of the full sale process. You have both situations covered. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, listen, if somebody's watching this right now and they're like, you know what, that's me. That's me. I want to sell my house. And maybe I don't want a bunch of people in my house, and I would love a strategy to do that. What is the best way for somebody to get in touch with you, Vicki?
To reach out on my cell phone by text or phone call, and that number is 615-579-1804. I am Vicki McAnulty with Benchmark.
Awesome. Well, Vicki, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us, and we'll put Vicki's phone number in the post in this. And if you're watching this and you need to buy a home and you want to get pre-approved, Vicki works with buyers as well, and so we'd love to help you with that. Give us a call, 615-498-5626, and I appreciate you watching.
Thank you, Craig. Have a great day.